Equals I have always loved the way the early morning light filters through the tall pines surrounding Maplewood. The sun's golden rays break through the branches like a promise, washing everything in a warm glow. But on this particular morning, something felt different. There was a heaviness in the air, as if the trees themselves were holding their breath, waiting for something to happen. I stood on my porch, the weathered wood creaking beneath my feet, and stared down the road where the pavement met the tree line. The slight chill of the breeze sent a shiver up my spine, both from the cold and the tight knot of anxiety growing in the pit of my stomach. "Are you ready for today?" My best friend Elaine called out from the bottom of my front steps. Her voice broke the silence like a stone thrown into a still pond, sending ripples of unease through me. The crisp air carried the scent of freshly cut grass, mingling awkwardly with the blast of nervous sweat radiating off me. I turned to her, forcing a smile, but I could feel the truth twitching behind my lips, itching to escape. I was not ready. How could I be? Today was the day everything I had tried to ignore for so long came crashing back, a tidal wave of terrible memories. Yeah, totally. Can't wait for the whole school to see us win the championship. My voice came out shaky, and I could see the flash of concern cross Elaine's face. I wanted to tell her the truth, to confide in her about the knot in my stomach and the memories brewing like a storm cloud overhead. But I held back, not wanting to ruin the perfect morning for her. She had every right to be excited, to be oblivious to the dark shadow creeping into my life again. "Come on, you need to own this moment, Ivy. We trained so hard. The whole school is counting on us." Elaine waved her arms dramatically, her wild curls bouncing in sync with her energy. "And besides, that team doesn't stand a chance against us." I managed a laugh, but it felt brittle and strained. She was right, we had worked hard. The volleyball team had dedicated so many hours to practice under the glaring sun and the weight of expectations. We were undefeated, and we both aspired to lead our team to victory. But for me, the joy of that achievement was marred by something darker that loomed just outside of my peripheral vision, something bigger than the scoreboard. I grabbed my bag off the porch railing. I felt Elaine's eyes boring into me, searching for any sign that the confident girl she hoped I was returning. "What is it, Ivy? You look like you just saw a ghost." I shook my head, forcing a smile that crumpled at the corners. "Just thinking about my serving needs to be on point today. Last practice was a disaster." "Hey, you're going to be amazing. Believe in yourself, okay?" Elaine encouraged, her voice rising with fervor. "What was it that coach always says? Practice means you can handle anything thrown your way." I nodded, trying to channel the excitement that bubbled in her spirit. The sound of the school bell, distant yet assertive, echoed through the still morning air, pulling me back to the present. "Right, I should probably get going," I said, wishing more than anything that I could erase the past couple of months. But as I stepped off the porch, that knot in my stomach twisted tighter, an all too familiar, unwelcome reminder. As the school building came into view, I noticed the familiar throng of students milling about outside. Excitement buzzed like electricity, laughter mingling with teasing shouts. I felt a pang of nostalgia wash over me, remembering when things were simpler before my world fractured and shattered under the weight of betrayal. I inhaled deeply, catching a whiff of donuts wafting from the cafeteria and the smell of blooming magnolias. I had always loved the scent of spring in Maplewood. It felt like hope, something I thought maybe I could cling to today. "You ready?" Elaine urged, nudging my arm. "We got this, just think about the championship." I nodded again, forcing the brightness to seep into my voice. "You're right, let's do this." I watched as she bounded ahead of me, her excitement palpable as she chatted with classmates. I felt an ache in my chest, wondering why it seemed that enthusiasm and dread could coexist within me at the same time. "Hey, Ivy," a voice called out. I turned slowly, the knot in my gut tightening once again as the familiar figure approached, a tall, confident girl walking towards me with an air of superiority and a smile that could cut glass. It was Laura. She had been the queen bee at Maplewood since our freshman year, and somehow I was caught on her social radar like a bug in a web. "What do you want?" I grumbled, crossing my arms. Even the bright sunshine seemed to dim around her. "Oh, easy there. I just came to wish you good luck today. Wouldn't want your team to be disappointed after working so hard, would we?" Laura's smile was saccharine, too sweet to be sincere, and I could feel the heat creeping up my neck, igniting a spark of anger bubbling beneath my surface. "I'm sure we'll do great. Thanks for your concern," I replied, not bothering to hide the sarcasm dripping from my words. "Aw, come now, no need to get snippy." She laughed, flipping her hair over her shoulder, as if the movement was as graceful as water flowing over pebbles, and I wanted to laugh because she was so oblivious to how arrogant she sounded. "I just wanted to remind you of what happened last year. You have to be careful, Ivy. Not all teams play nice." At those words, icy daggers of rage pierced through my essence. "You think threatening me is funny, Laura? For once, can you just be quiet?" I said, my voice shaky, but the fire blazing in my chest fueled my words. "Hurt feelings were never my forte, Ivy." She leaned in closer, and I could suddenly smell her expensive perfume, a floral scent clashing violently with the pangs of embarrassment I felt. But I just couldn't help but think that you were crumbling under the pressure. I clenched my fists, reminding myself that I had worked too hard to sink to her level, too hard for this battle to be about her foolish taunts. "And I think you should worry about your own team instead of poking your nose into mine." You're right, I should. Best of luck today. She turned away, her laughter trailing behind her like an annoying melody I couldn't get rid of. I tried to shake off the anger swelling like a balloon ready to pop, willing myself to breathe deeply. Elaine rejoined me, sensing the tension in the air. What did that stuck-up snob want? I sighed, running a hand through my hair. Just the same old crap. Pushing buttons like she always does. You know what? I can't believe they still let her act like that. She's like a bad smell that won't go away, Elaine said, her voice laced with frustration. I chuckled softly, the warmth of her support washed over me like a balm. Let's try not to get in trouble, okay? The championship is today. The words felt heavy like they were wrapped in barbed wire. Don't worry about it, I got your back, Elaine said, her eyes shining. Let's just focus on our game. The bell rang again, loud and clear, urging students into the building, and as we took a step towards the entrance, I hesitated, recalling the weight of the past creeping forward, threatening to unravel me. Hey, Ivy, Elaine nudged me gently. You sure you're all right? You look like you might be sick. I shook my head. Just, nerves. It's a big day. Yeah, it is, but you are the best player I've ever seen, Elaine said, her voice earnest. And today you are going to shine. No one can stop you. I wished I had her confidence. The thoughts swirling in my mind hardly seemed to resemble my best self. I took a few deeper breaths, trying to calm the storm brewing inside me as we walked through the school's stone archway. Each step echoed like a countdown to something unavoidable. But I was not going to let the past ruin today. I was tired of being a victim. Today might change everything. As we entered the bustling hallway, I took one last glance back at the sun pouring over the trees, a memory of what was once my peaceful life. This would be the time I would stand up and not shrink under the weight of previous failures and scars. I could not allow anyone, especially not Laura, to define who I was or what I could achieve. It was time to unravel the chains of the past and build something stronger in its place. In that moment, I knew that at the end of today, I would either stand victorious or learn how to build my revenge. Either way, I was ready. I stood outside the unmistakable orange and blue sign of the Maplewood Community Center, my heart racing as I stared through the tall glass windows. It was early evening, and the bright lights inside illuminated the bustling chaos of kids, parents, and staff finishing up from a long day. I took a deep breath, the air crisp with the scent of fresh grass and the lingering warmth of the setting sun. The playground nearby echoed with laughter, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside me. Today wasn't just any day. Today was the day I set my plan in motion. The day I turned the tables on Jenna Monroe, Jenna, my cousin, my tormentor. All those years of her smirking at my second-hand clothes, of her whispering the cruelest of insults around friends that were supposed to be mine too. I recalled that day at my birthday party when she invited everyone to the swimming pool, and when I jumped in, believing they were there for me, I was met with splashes of mockery instead of cheers. The feeling of betrayal was a knife twisting in my chest, and now it was time to return the favor. Hey, Ivy, a cheerful voice broke through my thoughts, drawing me back to the present. I turned to see Lily Simmons, my confidant and the sole person who stood by me through all of Jenna's schemes. She had bright blue hair that spilled over her shoulders like a waterfall of color. She was a free spirit, someone who radiated positivity even in the darkest of times. Hey, Lily, I replied, attempting to mirror her enthusiasm, but inside I was a storm of nerves and anticipation. You ready for this? She tilted her head, a smirk playing on her lips, eyes sparkling with mischief. Oh, I'm ready, I shot back, my voice firm but laced with underlying tension. I couldn't let her see how much this meant to me, how crucial my revenge was. It's now or never, right? Absolutely. Just remember, it's all about timing, she said, nodding thoughtfully. And confidence, walk in like you own the place. I took a step back, absorbing her words. Confidence, timing. Those were the keys I needed, especially tonight when Jenna was volunteering at the community center for her volunteer hours for school. She had mentioned it at the last family gathering, her tone smug, as if helping out in the community made up for all the nasty things she had done to me over the years. I had watched her bask in the compliments of relatives, pretending to be the perfect niece while I sat back, simmering in silence. Tonight, though, she would face the consequences of her actions. As I walked toward the entrance, I could hear the sounds of the center penetrating my thoughts, the faint echo of children screaming in excitement, soft strains of music playing from a nearby room where a dance class was training, a mother chastising her toddler for throwing a toy. Once I entered, instinctively I scanned the room. Jenna wouldn't have changed much. She was always front and center, basking in the limelight. Just as I thought, there she was, dressed in a too-tight t-shirt that read Maplewood's Best Volunteer, her bleached blonde hair cascading down her shoulders, tossing it around with such nonchalance that I could feel the confidence radiating from her. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the tables were about to turn. I caught Lily's eye and nodded. My heart pounded in my chest as I pulled my phone from my pocket, checking the time. Jenna would be at the craft table, helping the kids make colorful paper flowers. But I didn't need Lily to distract her. I had the perfect bait, her best friend, Sarah Salazar, one of the sweetest girls I knew and Jenna's right-hand shadow. Sarah was naive to the schemes Jenna pulled, always supporting her, thinking she was just being a good cousin and friend. I took a deep breath, focusing on the plan that had brewed in my mind for months. If anyone could lure Jenna away from her post, it would be Sarah. The idea was simple. I would plan a rumor about Jenna's secret crush. All it would take was whispering a few words to Sarah, who was like a butterfly, flitting from one person to the next, carrying gossip with each flutter. Just give me a minute, I told Lily, a hint of anxiety clouding her face. I need to talk to Sarah, okay, but don't take too long. Once I find an opening, I'll draw Jenna's attention. I nodded, and with a reassuring smile, I made my way across the room to where Sarah sat with a group of kids, showing them how to fold brightly colored paper into the shape of flowers. I felt a wash of unease slide down my spine as I approached her. "Hey, Sarah," I greeted, hoping my voice sounded brighter than I felt. "Oh, Ivy." Sarah looked up, blinking her doe-like eyes, her smile wide and welcoming, always a breath of fresh air compared to the storm clouds that loomed around Jenna. "What's up? Got a second?" I asked, motioning for her to follow me away from the children. "Sure," she bounced up, eager as ever. We walked toward a quieter corner of the room, the smell of crayons and glue drifting through the air, mixing with the essence of freshly baked cookies from the fundraiser being held in the next room. "Do you know about Jenna's crush on Jason?" I asked, letting the words lure her in like a fish to bait. "Who, Jason Miller, the one from the soccer team?" Sarah's eyes widened with interest. "Yup," I replied, trying to suppress the wicked grin threatening to break free. "I heard she's had a thing for him for the longest time but has been too embarrassed to tell him." "Oh wow, really?" Sarah clapped her hands, her excitement palpable. "I had no idea. That's so cute." "Yeah, it is, but I think someone else might be interested too," I added, making sure to lean in closer so she could hear me. Her curiosity flickered in her eyes, a spark that told me I was on the right track. "The thing is, I heard from Amy that Jason might like someone else, someone more, I don't know, relatable," I finished, letting my words hang in the air like the tension before a storm. "Relatable?" Sarah frowned, her brow furrowing as I watched her internal gears rotating. "What do you mean? Is it someone we know? Kind of. You know how sometimes Jenna tries way too hard. She can be a bit much, can't she?" The words slipped out of my mouth effortlessly, wrapping around her curiosity like a vine. "Yes, she tries to be perfect and all. It can be overwhelming sometimes," Sarah admitted, tilting her head thoughtfully. "But she is really nice, though, is she?" I pursed my lips, feigning innocence. "I just think some people might see her a bit differently if they had a closer look." Sarah looked conflicted. "But Jen is cool, isn't she?" "Sure, she is," I replied casually, "but when it comes to winning over someone like Jason, being cool isn't always enough. I mean, you've seen how he looked at her that day at the game, haven't you?" A flicker of doubt crossed Sarah's features, her mind whirring as she mulled over my words. "He didn't really look at her like that, did he?" "Maybe not, but I think he wants someone who is more down to earth," I pressed, willing to fan the flames. "Oh wow, like who?" Her excitement was palpable, and I could practically see the gears turning in her head. "Maybe someone who isn't afraid to be themselves," I said, nudging her curiosity's edge. "Just saying, but openings like this don't come easily. If Jenna is too busy focusing on her perfect persona, she might just miss the chance to snag someone like Jason." By now, I could see Sarah's loyalty waning. I watched her frown deepen as she began to contemplate everything I had said. Almost felt bad. Sarah had always been sweet and kind, but this wasn't about her. It was about ending Jenna's reign. "Okay, maybe that makes sense," Sarah mumbled, biting her lower lip nervously. "But I should probably talk to Jenna about it too, right, to keep it fair? Or maybe," I interjected, "you could talk to her after the fundraising event. I heard they had a bet going on about who would finally confess to Jason. If you get a chance, maybe you could slip in a word about the other girl." "I don't think Jenna would like that," Sarah hesitated. "Think of it this way, if she knows the truth early on, maybe she can prepare herself. It's about her own happiness, right?" The moment the words fell from my lips, I knew I had her. Sarah's resolve melted faster than butter on a hot stove, and I could practically see the wheels turning in her mind. "Okay," she finally said, her excitement renewed. "I'll see what I can do. Thanks, Ivy. You're like the best friend ever for telling me this." "Anytime, Sarah," I replied, hoping my smirk went unnoticed. With that, I turned on my heels and made my way back to Lily, who stood at the edge of the craft table, her arms crossed, watching Jenna as she laughed loudly with the children. "Did it work?" Lily asked, her voice dropping to a whisper. "She's on board," I said, my heart throbbing with adrenaline. "Now we just need to wait for the right moment for Jenna to fall right into our trap." Lily grinned, excitement shining in her eyes. "God, I love it when a plan comes together." Jenna's laughter echoed, bouncing off the walls, blending with the laughter of the children surrounding her. It felt almost surreal at that moment. This was going to be a victory I had waited for. I could feel the various emotions weaving through me: joy, anticipation, and perhaps a bit of guilt. But guilt was a luxury I could not afford. Soon I would see the throne she built for herself come crashing down, exposing everything beneath that facade she had skillfully painted. And as the evening wore on, with every minute ticking away like clockwork, I felt stronger, emboldened. The stage was set, and I was the director of my own revenge story. All I had to do was wait for Jenna to take the bait, and when she did, well, there was no turning back. The trap was ready, and when the time comes, this would not just be a game, it would be a lesson. Jenna would learn that the world was not just her playground where she could make the rules. Everything she had built was about to come crashing down, and I was going to be the one flipping the switch for her, Just wait until tomorrow, I whispered to myself, a smile creeping across my face. The thrill of revenge welled up in my chest like a wave threatening to crash over everything. And with every tick of the clock, I knew I was one step closer to reclaiming my power. I stood in front of the mirror, examining the girl staring back at me. My reflection showed a 16-year-old with fiery red hair that spilled over my shoulders like a molten waterfall, framing a face splotched with remnants of last night's tears and the harsh lines of determination. The bathroom was damp, the mirror slightly fogged from the shower I had just taken, and the air smelled of minty shampoo and just a hint of lavender. I pinched my cheeks, hoping the circulation would bring back some color, but all I could see was how pale I had become in the whirlwind of my thoughts. My heartbeat thrummed in my ears like a restless drummer, often extra loud whenever the specter of betrayal visited my thoughts. "Damn it, Ivy," I muttered under my breath, "you need to get it together." I turned away from the mirror, shaking off the remnants of insecurity. Today was not just another day. It was the day I would begin to carve my path to revenge against Mia Caswell and the miserable crew who made my life a living hell. With each step down the hallway, my resolve deepened. The house was quiet, an expectant silence that stretched out like an untouched canvas. My parents were still away on their week-long trip to New York, leaving me with plenty of space and freedom to plot and execute my plan. I almost felt guilty for the fire that burned within me, but I quickly brushed that aside. Mia didn't deserve my sympathy. She didn't care how her actions cut me to the bone, so why should I care about playing nice? Sinking into my favorite corner of the lumpy old sofa in the living room, I pulled out my cell phone, powering it on with a mix of excitement and apprehension. I scrolled through the contacts, my heart racing as I found the name I had been waiting to see, Cassie, my best friend, my confidant. She was the only person who truly knew the weight I carried and the storm brewing inside me. I tapped the screen and pressed the call button, breathing in deeply as I waited for her to answer. Ring. I could almost hear my heartbeat echo with each ring. Finally, there was a click, and Cassie's familiar voice illuminated the airwaves. "Ivy, is everything okay? You sound frantic." Cassie was always attuned to my emotions, like a sailor is to the shifting winds. My voice came out shaky. "I need your help, Cass. I can't do this alone. Today is the day I finally take a stand. I'm going to confront Mia." My heart thudded dramatically against my ribs, the words tumbling out. There was a pause on the other end. I could almost picture Cassie biting her lip, her brows knitting together. She knew the risks I faced in challenging Mia. "Ivy, are you sure that's a good idea?" I let out a breath, frustration creeping into my tone. I mean, it wasn't a good idea for her to humiliate me in front of the entire school, right? I deserved to make my voice heard. "Okay, I get that," Cassie replied slowly, her tone a mix of understanding and apprehension. "But what's the plan?" "Can't just walk up to her and start throwing punches. You are better than that. It's not just about fighting. It's about showing her that she can't just walk all over me anymore. I want her to see that if she pushes me, she'll be pushed right back. You don't need to worry, I have something in mind," I said, my resolve hardening. What I had planned was a little more intricate than a mere confrontation. I had been gathering intel like a detective on a mission. I leaned closer to the phone, lowering my voice. "Give me an hour to gather everything and then meet me at the park. I'm going to need moral support and I could really use your brain on this." "All right, Ivy, I will be there, but promise me you'll be careful," she warned. "Always," I replied, though the word felt heavier than I intended. After I hung up, I stood up from the couch, adrenaline thrumming through my veins like a hot knife. It was time to prepare. I moved through the house like a whisper, gathering materials. I found a few old newspaper articles about bullying and social dynamics that I had tucked away in the attic. They provided angles on how people react when they feel threatened, knowledge I could weave into my rush of emotions. I would arm myself not only with my voice but also with the truth, something Mia had often twisted to disarm her victims. I tossed the articles onto the dining table and grabbed a pair of scissors, cutting out sections of text that stuck out to me, snippets that would reinforce the points I wanted to make. The weight of their words literally felt like armor, my fingers trembling as I pieced them together. Then I moved to my bedroom. Flipping through my closet, I decided on a crisp, dark blue dress that hugged my shape just right. I wanted to feel powerful. There was something about wearing the color blue. It reminded me of the ocean, vast and indomitable. With the dress draping over my skin, I became a different person, a girl transformed from a victim into a warrior. I styled my hair into a sleek braid, tucking every errant strand away, reminded that presentation mattered. I slipped on my favorite pair of combat boots. The sound of the soles thudding against the hardwood floor felt like armor. I was ready. The park was bursting with life, a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds. The laughter of children rang in the air like joyous bells, while the rustling leaves provided a tranquil backdrop. Yet I felt none of that calmness. Instead, it was itchy anticipation coursing through my muscles, urging me to confront the chaos that awaited on the playground. I spotted Cassie sitting on a bench, her thumb running nervously over the edge of her cell phone. She looked up as I approached, and her eyes widened in surprise and admiration. "Wow, Ivy, you look amazing. Thanks, it's show time." I grinned, but my heart wavered like a flickering flame. Cassie stood up, her face serious now. I know you want to make an impact, but what are you really planning to say? I mean, have you thought about how she might react? Taking a deep breath, I felt my resolve stiffen in the weight of her question. I am going to tell her that bullying someone feeds off weakness, and I refuse to be weak anymore. Honestly, I don't care if she gets angry. I only care that she finally understands how her actions rip apart lives. That same determination felt like a bonfire raging at the pit of my stomach. Cassie nodded, though her expression still held uncertainty. Okay, but I am with you no matter what, all the way. In that moment, I felt grateful. Grateful for her support, but also for the surge of confidence that overran my insecurities. Let's do this together then. Together, we walked over to the playground, the wind whipping through my hair, each step resonating with purpose. I caught a glimpse of Mia on the swings, her blonde hair curling perfectly in the sunlight as if she herself were a creature carved from gold. The sight twisted my insides further, but I pressed on. Just as we reached the edge of the sandbox, Mia caught sight of me. The expression on her face morphed from surprise to amusement, her lips curving up like a crescent moon in a darkening sky. Well, if it isn't the wannabe warrior, have you come to surrender? The words flew out like poison, and I felt Cassie tense beside me. But I stood firm, the battle cry in my chest roaring louder than my doubt. No, Mia, I am here to set the record straight. Today I am taking my honesty back, Mia snorted. Your honesty? Oh, please, Ivy. You've always been the easy target. It's so cute to think you can change. Easy target. I felt fury ignite within me, burning hotter than before. Think this is about me being an easy target. Mia, this has nothing to do with me being weak. This is about you feeling empowered by kicking others down. You think your popularity makes you untouchable. It's pathetic. The surprised collective gasp from our peers reached my ears, and for a moment I felt powerful, soaring higher than any swing could take me. Mia's face was a mix of shock and anger, her eyes narrowing. You're crazy to think anyone cares, but I did not waver. That's exactly the point. You think you can just ignore the consequences of manipulating people. No one is infallible, Mia. I am done staying silent. But we all know you've always been too scared to stand up to me, Mia retorted, crossing her arms. Scared? No, I'm finally standing up for myself, which is something you could never understand. A murmur broke through the gathering crowd. I could see Cassie standing at my side, her energy radiating support as she shot me a thumbs up. Okay, Ivy. Let's see how far your bravery goes. Mia spat, her voice dripping with disdain. You think you can turn this around just like that? Tell me, have you thought about what happens when you are pushed too far? I felt the crowd's shifting weight as they leaned in, anticipation brewing around us, but I kept my gaze locked on Mia's, willing my voice to remain steady. You should know how it feels to push someone until they break. As the crowd surrounded us like a charged storm, I felt the tide shifting. A mixture of fear and excitement coursed through me. Mia had pushed me and they all watched, waiting for the fallout. They wanted blood, chaos, drama, but that was not what I would give them. It was time for my voice to echo. You are nothing but a hollow shell, Mia, built on the tears of others. That will catch up with you. Mia's expression morphed, a fleeting shadow of realization, a crack in her armor. But before she could respond, I felt myself faltering, haunted by the memories of betrayal that had clawed at me for so long. Enough, Mia snarled, fury flickering in her blue eyes. You think you can rekindle confidence after all this time? You really want to make a scene? No, I want to make a change. You are going to remember this moment. I refuse to let someone like you dictate how I feel any longer, I countered, leaning closer, my voice resolute like a sword cutting through doubt. In that moment, surrounded by the watchful eyes of my peers, I understood that this was only a beginning, a stepping stone to an even greater confrontation. The toss of accusations would flutter between us, the weight of our battle fostering deeper scars, but they would show not on me but on her. In the heartbeat of that single moment, I prepared for whatever Mia's next move would be, standing my ground amongst the cacophony of whispers, the ground growing firm beneath my feet, the smell of freshly cut grass filling my lungs, and the warmth of Cassie at my side radiating more strength than I had anticipated. This was not just about revenge. It morphing into something more profound, a chance to demand respect and reclaim the pieces of myself that had long been shredded away. I watched as Mia stumbled, her anger drawing from a well of surprise, and fear began to creep into her expression. I would not back down. The seeds of my revenge had been planted, and now their roots were starting to take hold. The wind whipped through my hair as I stood on the brink of my vengeance, the tree line of maplewood at my back. The distant sound of laughter echoed from the center of the park where they had gathered. My heart raced not just from the cold, but from the anticipation of what was about to happen. I had meticulously crafted every detail of my plan, writing the final chapter of my story. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow over the scene, I could almost taste the bitterness of my revenge. I could still hear his voice resonating in my mind, so condescending and smug. Ivy Monroe, the girl who will never rise above her station. Ethan's laugh had been like a knife, cutting deep and leaving scars I had tried so hard to hide. But tonight, under the heavy cloak of twilight, those scars would be transformed into badges of honor. I stepped away from the shadows, clutching the small box in my hand, feeling the weight of it as if it were a pile of bricks. I approached the clearing where they were all gathered. The air was thick with the smell of popcorn and the distant scent of fried dough, a carnival atmosphere mixing with the sweet sound of carefree banter. They were all there: Ethan, his friend Max with the scruffy beard, Lydia, who always tried to play both sides, and Mia, the girl I had once thought was my best friend. Each laugh they shared felt like a taunt directly aimed at me, and I took a deep breath, forcing myself not to turn away. "Hey, if it isn't the ghost of Maplewood," Ethan jeered, snickering as he twirled his half-empty soda can in his hand. My heart dropped at the sight of him, that casual arrogance oozing from his every pore. His blue eyes sparkled with mischief while a smirk played across his lips, like he felt victorious without even trying. "Look at Ivy. Are you here to beg for forgiveness, or are you just lost?" Lydia's voice was sharp, slicing through the laughter like a knife, making sure everyone's attention was on me. My blood boiled, but I forced a smile, one that I hoped didn't betray the storm swirling inside. "Not here to beg for anything," I said, my voice steady, a tremor of confidence underlying my words. I took a step forward, the box hidden behind my back. "I'm here to show you what real humiliation looks like." Max's brow lifted. "Oh, and what's that supposed to mean?" His curiosity was painted across his face, the flames of their interest feeding my resolve. "It means I'm ready to expose some truths," I declared, pulling the box in front of me. I took a moment to savor the weight of it, allowing a grin to stretch across my lips. "You all think I'm weak, don't you?" The group shifted, a few interested glances exchanged as if they could smell the tension in the air. A part of me wished to revel in my newfound courage, but the other part trembled at the potential outcome of this night. This was my moment, the climax of everything I had spent months preparing for. "What do you have in there? A surprise? A talent show?" Ethan laughed, rolling his eyes. "You know, those are usually for kids." "More like a reality check," I shot back, my heart hammering. I slowly opened the box, revealing its contents, each inner detail glimmering in the fading sunlight. "How about you all take a look at these?" The air grew still as the reality of what lay inside sunk in. I pulled out the first item, a packet of glossy photographs. "This here is some very interesting evidence. You might want to sit down for this one," I said with a mockingly playful smirk. I flung the photographs into the air, watching as they fluttered away, each one showcasing Ethan's not-so-secret dealings with the girls he claimed to have no interest in. They floated like sad autumn leaves drifting away from their branches, and as they began to rain down, I felt a surge of power. "Caught you flirting, darling," I said sweetly, forcing the feel of triumph into my careful phrasing. The moment felt electric, as if the tension in the air could crack a bone. What the hell? Ethan's voice filled with anger, his bravado collapsing under the weight of exposure. "You wouldn't dare. I guess we know who the real coward is," I replied, dragging my nails over the soft cardboard edge of the box. "Here are some more gems. Shall I show you all the private messages too? Or is that too embarrassing?" I pulled out a small slip of paper filled with his own words, words that spelled out his facade, his lies, the hypocrisy of it all. As the crowd gathered closer, the atmosphere shifted again. Faces that once snickered and smirked now read the truth twisted in black and white. Ethan looked like he might explode. "You're low, Ivy. Low, I think you mean clever," I shot back, enjoying the moment. "Maybe if you weren't so busy pretending to be someone you're not, this wouldn't be happening. Just remember what happens to cheaters." Ethan. His jaw was clenched, eyes blazing with incredulity, but something in his stance shifted. I could see it, the way he began glancing nervously at his friends, their wide eyes reflecting uncertainty. It looked almost like shadows of regret creeping into the corners of his mind, which only made my heart race with satisfaction. "Ivy, you can't do this. Just let it go. You are making a huge mistake." Lydia stumbled over her words, trying to recover their sense of control. But the laughter had gone, replaced with whispers and scattered disbelief. "Oh, I'm just getting started," I said, my heart pounding. I took out another item from the box, this time a beautifully handwritten note, the note that exposed a previous betrayal from Mia, where she gasped and covered her mouth. "How's this for a throwback? Remember this little love letter you sent behind my back?" "No." Mia's voice cracked, terror flooding her features as she yanked the paper from my hands, crumpling it in vain. "You are sick for doing this, Ivy. Am I sick, or are you just realizing that the monster you helped create doesn't merely go away?" I met her gaze fiercely, my heart soaring with the release of years of pent-up agony. I had never wanted to hurt my friends, but their betrayal had twisted gentle feelings into resolute anger. "You all thought I would just take it lying down." At that moment, with reprisal heating between us like crackling static, I felt alive. It was as if every wrong now had the right to be set straight. They were crumbling before me, their dominance fading away beneath the weight of remorse and shame. A few of the others began to murmur amongst themselves, their eyes darting back and forth as if searching for an exit. "You should really think twice before messing with someone like me," I continued, the confidence spiraling out of control. "Revenge is not just sweet, it is liberating." "Stop it, Ivy." "This is going too far," Max tried to intervene, but I cut him off with a wave of my hand. I was too far gone, fueled by the rush of turning the table on them all. "You had your chance to be decent, but you chose to cruelly trample any hope I had, and for that you will own the consequences." Adrenaline coursed through my veins, and with every word that spilled out, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. I had been silent for far too long, allowing their jokes and their mockery to fill my mind with doubt. But this was mine now, a moment that demanded acknowledgement. This may seem like your big show now, Ivy, Ethan sneered despite his anger, his hands tightening into fists at his sides. But you don't know who you are messing with. Oh, I know exactly who I am messing with, I replied, and I know how easily I can dismantle your illusion of grandeur. Armed with the evidence, I pressed on, aware of my strength. Guys, let's just leave, Mia said quietly to the group, trying to pull them away as if she could physically erase the embarrassment. This was a bad idea, but my triumph came from their panic, the way they huddled closer together as if they could somehow shield themselves from my revelations. So, are you done pretending? I quipped, fueled by an intoxicating cocktail of fear, anger, and elation. Or do you need me to keep going? Ethan's face shifted from anger to desperation, and in that fleeting moment, I saw the cracks in the facade. Ivy, listen, he said, his tone shifting slightly, a desperate plea woven into the fabric of his words. Maybe we can talk about this like reasonable people. Nobody needs to get hurt. Too late for that, I shot back defiantly. This is about the hurt you caused and the deception you reveled in. My heart raced as I continued, relishing in the thrill of control. I have no desire to listen to your empty apologies. Then you are a fool, Ethan hissed, his expectant arrogance showing through the cracks in his mask. You think this will end well for you? I think you underestimate me, I replied coolly, holding my ground. Each word rolled off my tongue with newfound confidence. You've created your own nightmare, and I am just the catalyst for the consequences you should have faced long ago. As the shadows deepened around us, so too did the divide between us. I glanced at my former friends, their faces now snapshots of regret, outrage, and fear, and I felt a mix of satisfaction and something more fragile pain. I never really wanted it to come to this, but I was past the point of no return. With the photographs scattered at their feet like breadcrumbs of their wrongdoings, I made eye contact with each one of them, lingering a moment longer with Ethan. The defiant glimmer in his eyes was dimming, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. As I turned to walk away, a rebellious wave of empowerment surged through me, fueled by the sound of disbelief that echoed through the park. Let this be a lesson. Treat people with kindness or be prepared to face the storm, I threw over my shoulder, punctuating my words with a final flare of defiance before disappearing into the night. The laughter of the crowd faded behind me, replaced by a newfound silence, a silence that echoed like a weight lifted from my heart. It had been a battle won, but was the war over? I was not yet sure. One thing was certain. This new dawn was just beginning, and I felt intoxicatingly free.